crimes very seriously, even the sexual crimes. Mr. Speaker, Bill 247, Jail Not Bail Act is entirely constitutional and it covers everything. On this side of the aisle, we are here to protect our women, children, and everyone on the safe. That all the Canadians are safe on the street. The Canadian homes are safe. They're not getting threatened by calls. Thank you.
Comments, questions et commentaires. The Honourable Member for Moose Jaw, Lake Centre, Lanigan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and through you, Mr. Speaker, to my honourable colleague. I appreciated his intervention. One of the things that I hear, in particular in my community, from the police officers and from victims, is that their victims are afraid to come forward to testify because the person that's committed the crime against them has just been released on bail within minutes, if not hours, of being detained by the police. So the question to my colleague is, does he agree with that? And should there be tougher punishments on criminals?
The Honourable Member for Calgary Skyview.
Thank you to my colleague. Yes, it is very serious, and we have introduced our Bill C-242 by our members from Oxford, and that's what we need to act on. We cannot release those offenders back on the streets. We have to be serious on them. We have seen in the last failed Liberal decade what we have gone through. The crime rate is skyrocketing. Even just Surrey alone, the extortion cases are up almost 550%, and that's a very highly number. We cannot have this in Canada. Thank you.
Questions and comments.
Questions and comments. The Honourable Member for, let's see here. Pardon?
Windsor West.
Windsor West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is a member opposite that has called in the past for the police to be defunded. And his assertion was disarming the police would be the best way to solve crime. I, as a former police officer, find that extremely offensive. So do the rest of Canadians. The question for my colleague is, what is his opinion on this matter of defunding the police?
The Honourable Member for Calgary Skyview.
Mr. Speaker, it is a shameful act. A member from across the road, he was involved in a rally to defund our police. And on the other hand, I have spoke to the police officers last week. They're looking on us. They're looking on the government of Canada. We can provide them more tools. They need more men. And there was I think a while ago, there was an announcement they'll be hiring 1,000 new officers, police officers. Nothing is hired. And on the other hand, the Liberals are announcing and they're going through those rallies where they want to defund the RCM with their funding. That's not right.
Questions and comments. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, it's absolutely silly to try to imply that the government or the Liberal Party does not support funding of police. Yeah. I'll tell you what is serious. We have the Conservative Party consistently wanting to filibuster Bill C-14.
Order, please. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
From the top.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I say, it's absolutely silly for the Conservative Party to try to give a false impression that the Liberal Party or the government does not support funding our police. What is real is that the police, the provinces, the municipalities, they all support Bill C-14. They all want bail reform. Canadians want bail reform. It's the Conservative Party of Canada that continues to filibuster C-14, Mr. Speaker. The issue is, when will the Conservatives allow C-14 to pass? Canadians want it. We want it. When won't the Conservatives agree to pass the legislation before the end of the year?
Briefly, the Honourable Member for Calgary Skyview. Very brief.
Mr. Speaker, that was the question he should be asking his own member, own caucus member who joined that rally. He should not be asking us, and that's it. And now it's up to the Prime Minister. Is he going to fire that member of Parliament that's sitting right in his aisle, or is he going to keep him? And when it comes to the Bill C-14, Conservatives will support bill, any bill that's designed to increase safety for the Canadians. But we believe this bill is so weak. It's better if
Unfortunately, time is up. We have to go to member statements. Statements by members. Déclaration de député. The honourable member for Oakville West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to recognize the exceptional teachers receiving the Prime Minister's Awards for Teaching Excellence in my beautiful riding of Oakville West. This award celebrates the achievements of educators that go above and beyond. These are leaders in the classrooms, mentors and coaches that support our children throughout their journey, who take the extra step and exceed the curriculum to help students succeed. To date, this award has honored over 2,300 teachers and considers Canada's highest honor for teachers teaching in early, primary and secondary education. I would like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to Ms. Fitran, Mr. Vittorio Iaffarti, recipients of the Regional Certificate of Teaching Excellence, as well as Mr. Kevin Carter, who has been awarded the Regional Certificate of Teaching Excellence in STEM. Thank you for your exceptional contributions to help build the foundations children need to make the best start possible in life. Thank you.
The honourable member for Niagara Falls, Niagara-on-the-Lake.
Speaker, this week the Tourism Industry Association of Canada is hosting their annual Tourism Congress in Gatineau. This year's theme is Tourism Builds Canada. Tourism definitely powers my communities of Niagara Falls and Niagara-on-the-Lake. In fact, Niagara is home to more than 40,000 tourism workers. Across Canada, 1 in 10 Canadian jobs are in tourism, an industry that generates $130 billion in economic activity, but it could be so much more if not for bad Liberal policies. Under this Liberal government, tourism is simply not a priority. According to TIAC, cuts to the International Convention Attraction Fund, Tourism Growth Program, and Destination Canada's core funding, and excluding tourism from the capital cost allowance undermines the sector's potential. In a country where so much is broken after 10 years of this Liberal government, leave it to these Liberals to cut programs that actually work. Speaker, tourism builds Canada. Unfortunately, this Liberal budget fails to unleash its full potential.
The honourable member for Hamilton West, Ancaster Dundas.
Last week, Hamilton welcomed the Minister of Public Safety and the Secretary of State for Sport to announce federal funding for the amazing new Hamilton YWCA. Then the Secretary of State for Combating Crime joined the Mayor's Community Safety Roundtable discussing federal action to stop crime. We hosted the Minister of Industry to advance our government's Buy Canadian policy, meeting student leaders, workers and innovators, supporting Canada's next generation of jobs. And the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure met with Hamilton Housing Partners to continue work making housing more affordable and confirming Hamilton's light rail transit system remains a federal budget priority. This budget delivers billions of dollars in further investment and opportunity for Hamilton and cities across Canada. Mr. Speaker, leadership isn't American-style slogans, conspiracy theories, anger, and division. Effective government, real leadership, is being part of a great team that delivers results for Hamilton and all Canadians.
The honourable member for Foothills.
Breathtaking colors, more vibrant than one can imagine. Sounds and smells tantalizing your senses, cheering on world-class athletes, the 2- and 4-legged variety, as they achieve the unimaginable. This is what it means to experience Spruce Meadows, Canada's premier show jumping facility, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary. The bold vision of Ron and Margaret Southern, Spruce Meadows is a world-renowned institution, recognized for equestrian excellence and cherished for honoring the traditions and values of Southern Alberta. The Southern's hard work, prairie hospitality, and deep community roots built something truly remarkable. Their daughters, Linda and Nancy, are carrying on that family legacy, a legacy which is unforgettable as we cheer on Eric Lamaze and Hickstead, Captain Canada Ian Miller and Big Ben, and cheer on Aaron Ballard to be an Olympian and a Canadian legend. To the Southern family, the volunteers, staff, athletes, and fans who poured their hearts into this journey, thank you to Spruce Meadows for welcoming the world to Foothills for 50 years.
The honourable member for Scarborough Centre, Don Valley East.
Mr. Speaker, today is a day to celebrate science. The Office of the Chief Science Advisor and the Canadians Science Policy Centre have brought 45 researchers from across Canada to Ottawa today for Science Meets Parliament. These researchers are among our brightest emerging leaders, representing the full spectrum of disciplines from natural sciences and engineering to health sciences and social sciences. They are on the Hill to share their insights, connect with parliamentarians, and strengthen the vital link between science and policy in tackling Canada's most pressing challenges. Trusting relationships between those who generate evidence and those who apply it are essential. Opportunities like today allow both communities to meet, exchange ideas, and build mutual understanding. As chair of the Standing Committee on Science and Research, I am proud to be a champion for science. Please join me in welcoming the participants of Science Meets Parliament. Thank you.
The honourable member for Calgary Skyview.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today on behalf of the people in Calgary to express concern over the recent sentencing decision that chips away the public confidence in justice system. In case of extortion in our city, the offender received an 18-month sentence in which 6 months are to be served under house arrest. An extremely light outcome given to the seriousness of the crime. This was not a minor offense. The victim was targeted in Calgary and pressured to repay more than $200,000 tied to third-party illegal gambling. He was shown images of cut-up body parts in an attempt to scare him. The threat cannot be dismissed as any less than extremely serious. This case makes one thing clear: our laws does not reflect the seriousness of the extortion and organized crime. It's a time to strengthen the law so that criminals face real consequences and Calgarians receive the protection they deserve. Thank you.
The honourable member for Surrey Newton.
Mr. Speaker, 30 years ago, human rights defender Jaswant Singh Khalra stood here in Ottawa to urge parliamentarians to pay attention to the disappearances and unlawful killings of thousands of Sikhs in Punjab, India. Just months after the visit, he was abducted, tortured, and killed for his courage and conviction. Before his tragic death, he shared a powerful message, one that continues to inspire people around the world today. He reminded us that we must never stay silent in the face of injustice. As we honor Jaswant Singh Khalra's courage and sacrifice, let us reaffirm our shared commitment to truth, justice, and human rights, the values that form the foundation of our democracy. Thank you.
The honourable member for Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians spend more on taxes than anything else. They spend more on taxes than they do on housing. Government is the single most expensive purchase we make. Yet these Liberals have the gall to stand here and tell us that making government more expensive is an affordability measure. Liberals had a chance to lower food costs for Canadians by scrapping the industrial carbon tax. Instead, they chose to make food more expensive by increasing the tax. That drives up the cost of fertilizer and farm equipment. Liberals promised Canadians they could eat their cake and have it too. But the price of baked goods is up nearly 6% over last year. Now we know the Liberal plan. They will ban plastic food packaging, removing thousands of products from the store shelves. It's not unaffordable if it's unavailable. Mr. Speaker, Canadians shouldn't have to wait a generation for change. They need an affordable Conservative government now.
L'honorable député de Joliette-Manawan.
Monsieur le Président, la philanthropie est la force tranquille qui élève la société. Elle est ce lien vivant entre la liberté et la fraternité, entre l'individu et la communauté. Elle nous rappelle que la grandeur d'un peuple ne se mesure pas seulement à ses lois ou à ses institutions, mais à la générosité de ses âmes. Le 15 novembre dernier était la journée consacrée à rappeler cette vérité. La philanthropie est une espérance active. Aujourd'hui, alors que ces artisans sont présents sur la colline, je veux les saluer et leur adresser un vibrant remerciement. Je rends plus particulièrement hommage à Philanthropie Lanaudière, qui incarne cette volonté de justice et de solidarité. Par leurs actions, l'équipe et ses partenaires font reculer l'indifférence. Ils ouvrent des chemins où chacun peut trouver sa place et sa dignité. Ils prouvent que la richesse véritable n'est pas dans l'accumulation, mais dans le partage. En cette journée, sachons que donner, c'est affirmer la vie, c'est préparer l'avenir. Que la philanthropie demeure pour nous tous une lumière et un devoir.
L'honorable député de Saint-Boniface, Saint-Vital.
Monsieur le Président, November 16th commemorates the memory of Louis Riel, a visionary leader, the founder of Manitoba, and a father of Confederation. Dimanche dernier, j'ai eu l'honneur d'assister aux côtés du Premier ministre au 140e anniversaire de l'exécution de Louis Riel. Plus d'un siècle après qu'un Premier ministre l'ait trahi, il est particulièrement significatif qu'un autre Premier ministre choisisse aujourd'hui de l'honorer pleinement. Louis Riel nous rappelle que la lutte pour la justice et l'égalité demeure actuelle. Son héritage perdure à Saint-Boniface et partout au Canada. Inspirant notre engagement envers le respect, le partenariat et la réconciliation avec la nation métisse. Je souhaite saluer le travail de la Fédération des Métis du Manitoba et de l'Union nationale métisse Saint-Joseph du Manitoba pour faire rayonner cette mémoire vivante. On behalf of this House, I pay tribute to Louis Riel and to his enduring vision for our country. May this day always remind us of the strength and resilience of the Red River Métis Nation.
L'honorable député de Beauce.
Président, le gouvernement libéral nous présente un budget à l'encre rouge. Un budget carte de crédit générationnel, Monsieur le Président. Wow! Il dépense sans compter, et c'est les contribuables d'aujourd'hui et les générations futures qui paieront la facture. Pour les libéraux, 1 plus 1, ça fait toujours 10. Monsieur le Président, même l'agence Fitch, qui évalue la cote de crédit du Canada, tire la sonnette d'alarme. Elle prévient que les libéraux ne respectent jamais leurs propres limites budgétaires et que ça aggrave l'état de nos finances. Même le directeur parlementaire du budget est contre. Il révèle que le gouvernement a tout simplement laissé tomber son engagement de réduire la dette relative au PIB. Pas pour rien qu'ils veulent le clairer, Monsieur le Président. Ce premier ministre nous offre une carte de crédit sans limite, mais il endette l'avenir de nos enfants et même de nos petits-enfants. Les conservateurs, eux, vont continuer de défendre les familles, les travailleurs, les entreprises, les contribuables et s'opposer fermement à ce gouvernement irresponsable et dépensier. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
L'honorable député de Longueuil-Saint-Hubert.
La liberté ne se donne pas, elle se conquiert. Parole célèbre du général Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Le 18 novembre 1803 s'est tenue la bataille des Vertières, l'une des plus grandes batailles de l'histoire moderne. En tant que député fédéral, mais aussi en tant que fils d'Haïti, je tiens à souligner la force, le courage et la résilience du peuple haïtien qui ont combattu contre l'armée de Napoléon pour se libérer de ses chaînes et acquérir sa liberté. La bataille des Vertières incarne le courage, la dignité et la détermination du peuple haïtien. Pourtant, depuis lors, le pays fait face à des défis qui persistent encore aujourd'hui. Dans ce contexte, la coopération du Canada prend tout son sens. Car en tant qu'allié d'Haïti, il apporte son soutien, quoique cet appui ne remplace pas le leadership qui va venir d'Haïti. En soulignant la bataille des Vertières, je rends hommage aux héros du passé. Ensemble, toute bagaille possible. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
The honourable member for Provencher.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians want stronger paychecks, safer streets, secure borders, and a self-reliant country. They cannot get that from a Prime Minister who puts Brookfield, the company he chaired, first. When the Prime Minister meets Donald Trump, he brings home nothing for Canada, only an $80 billion U.S. nuclear reactor deal for Brookfield, giving Donald Trump the jobs, the investment, and a 20% stake in Westinghouse profits. Canadians get nothing. While chair, the Prime Minister directed Brookfield to avoid $6.5 billion in Canadian taxes through shell companies that he established in Bermuda and the Cayman Islands on top of a bicycle shop. The Prime Minister's inflation tax and industrial carbon tax make groceries even more expensive, while Brookfield's CEO claims that inflation boosts their profits. When the Prime Minister goes abroad, Brookfield gets the deal. When he comes home, Canadians get the bill.
The honourable member for London West.
I know that I speak to the people of London West when I say that we welcome the passage of the budget. And I want to highlight one of the concrete steps that it takes. One that came out directly from a pre-budget consultation held in my riding, the creation of Canada's Climate Corps. This is a practical, skill-driven program that will train young people, young Canadians for real jobs, Mr. Speaker. Jobs in resilience, emergency response, retrofit, green construction, and community infrastructure. When I met with young people in London West, the message could not have been more clear. They want opportunities that are hands-on, well-paid, and connected to the real needs of our local economy. The Climate Corps delivers exactly that, Mr. Speaker. It links youth in-demand careers and helps employers fill critical labor shortages. This is what building one strong Canadian economy looks like, by focusing on results, and we are making sure that federal investments land where people actually live. London West helped shape this initiative, and I will make sure that I keep working to ensure that our young people are at the forefront of the line.
The Honourable Member for Elgin, St. Thomas, London South.
Mr. Speaker, I wish our high-flying Prime Minister coveted results as much as air miles. Since taking office, he's made 28 trips, flying 153,000 kilometers, which is enough to circle the globe 4 times. And he's off again this week, heading to the United Arab Emirates and then South Africa. No surprise from the Prime Minister, who collects passports like Pokemon and identifies as European when he's hanging out in Davos with his fellow global elites. But what do Canadians have to show for this? No trade deals, no tariff relief, just photo ops and hollow letters of intent. He blew past his own deadlines with the United States with no deal. His 8-day junket to Asia, no progress. Chinese tariffs stay, India adds new ones, and not a single tariff lifted on Canadian goods in 8 months. As for accountability, he has appeared in question period just 11 times this fall. If the Prime Minister is this bored of Canada, can he please make his next junket a one-way ticket?
The Honourable Member for Port Moody Coquitlam.
Speaker, community foundations across Canada are the heart of our neighbourhoods, bringing people together, pooling resources, and ensuring local needs are met with care and community-led solutions. In my community, the Coquitlam Foundation and the Port Moody Foundation continue to make a tremendous impact through support for the arts, the environment, and youth scholarships and grants. This week, Matthew Sebastiani and foundation leaders from across Canada are here in Ottawa, reminding us of how vital their work is nationwide. To all foundation volunteers, donors, community leaders, thank you for lifting people up. You strengthen families, neighborhoods, and the foundation of who we are as a country. Merci beaucoup.
Oral questions, questions orales, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Canadians needed an affordable budget for an affordable life. Canadians can no longer pay their bills and pay for groceries. But the Prime Minister is creating more inflation. According to the PBO, the Parliamentary Budget Officer, the Prime Minister has created the largest deficit in Canadian history outside of the pandemic years. It's twice the deficit Justin Trudeau left us with. It's also twice as high as what the Prime Minister promised during the election campaign. That's a broken promise, according to the PBO. There will be $5,000 more inflation for each Canadian family. How are Canadians supposed to pay another $5,000 for a costly, expensive budget? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I'm so happy to see that the Leader of the Opposition read the summary of the budget, but we're not going to take any lessons from the Conservatives. Yesterday, the Conservatives voted against infrastructure investment. They voted against investing in housing. The Conservatives voted against innovation and productivity in Canada. And the Conservatives also voted against investing in defence. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we will always fight for a strong Canada. We will build a strong Canada together, Mr. Speaker. Today, the Conservatives should be asking themselves the question, why aren't we supporting Canadians?
que les Canadiens reçoivent pour le 150 000 kilomètres de voyage le premier
in exchange for the Prime Minister's 150,000 kilometers of travel? It's the equivalent of going around the Earth 4 times. He met with Americans, and they doubled tariffs on steel and aluminum. He met with people in India. They increased tariffs on chickpeas. He went to China. He met with them, and they increased tariffs on Canadian farmers and fishermen, Mr. Speaker. So why is it that every time the Prime Minister takes a flight abroad to meet with foreign representatives, Canadians pay more tariffs? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, that's the question Canadians are asking themselves. They're wondering, how did the Conservatives dare to vote against Canada yesterday, Mr. Speaker? Because in our budget, Mr. Speaker, we address strengthening Canada's sovereignty. We invest in our military capacity. We are investing in our military. So how can Conservatives explain to their constituents that they voted against Canada yesterday at a time when we all need to band together at this historic time for our nation?
Canadians are cash-strapped and needed a break. Instead, the Prime Minister gave them the costliest budget in Canadian history and put it all on the national credit card. The Parliamentary Budget Officer revealed the Prime Minister doubled Trudeau's deficits, added $16 billion more to the debt than he promised, is increasing the debt to GDP ratio, breaking another promise. $78 billion of additional debt works out to about $5,000 for every single cash-strapped family in this country. How does the Prime Minister expect single moms and seniors and small business people who can't pay their bills to pay another $5,000 for his inflation?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we will take no lessons from the Conservatives. Mr. Speaker, what they did yesterday under this leader, they voted against investment in infrastructure. Under this leader, they voted against investment in housing. Under this Conservative leader, they voted against productivity and innovation in our country. Under this leader, they voted against investment in our sovereignty, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we'll build a strong Canada, we'll empower Canadians, and we'll protect our sovereignty because we believe in Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think anybody's been able to cram that many slogans into one answer, and this is coming from me. This is coming from me. Mr. Speaker, let's take housing. He says they're spending billions of dollars more on housing. The results are out today. Housing starts down 17% year over year. Where we need the most in Toronto, down 42% year over year. Vancouver, 36% year over year. Ontario, down 35%. And BC, down 22%. Why is it that the more Liberals spend, the less that we can build?
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the Leader of the Opposition is ignoring the year-to-date results. He's looking month to month. He's twisting the facts. He's getting confused in the numbers. Conservatives have a tough time with numbers sometimes. We understand that. Year-to-date, 2025 versus 2024, we are up 5% with housing starts.
The Leader of the Opposition.
What are Canadians getting for the 28 trips, 150,000 kilometers, enough to circle the world 4 times that the Prime Minister's billed back to Canadians? Well, he met with the Americans, and they doubled tariffs on our steel, aluminum, autos, and tripled them on our forestry. He met with the Chinese, who increased tariffs on our farmers and fish harvesters. He met with the Indians. They increased tariffs on Canadian peas. He met the Brits, and they're keeping their blockade on our beef. Why is it that whenever the Prime Minister gets on a plane, Canadians end up paying more tariffs abroad?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Good news for Canadians. Germany just signed a $1 billion deal with Lockheed Martin Canada to support jobs right here in this country. This is what Canadians are getting from the Prime Minister being on the world stage, selling what Canada has to offer. It's about unlocking new markets and creating good jobs here in Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
With the Prime Minister billing millions of dollars for his high-flying trips around the world, 28 trips, 150,000 kilometers, now is the time for a scorecard. The Americans have increased tariffs on Canadian autos, aluminum, steel, and lumber. The Indians have increased tariff on our peas. The Chinese increased it on our farmers, our fish harvesters. Now, allow me to introduce a comprehensive list of all the tariffs the Prime Minister has successfully had reduced on Canada.
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservative leader continues to stand against support for Canadian workers and businesses. He has refused to support our government's plan to double non-U.S. exports over the next decade. In fact, he called Canadian exports, other than oil, pixie dust. Does the Conservative leader think our $5 billion in beef exports is pixie dust? Or the LNG headed to South Korea from BC? Or what about the $7.6 billion worth of fish and seafood caught by hardworking Canadians? Whether it's imaginary taxes or pixie dust, the Conservative leader needs to get on board and out of the way, Mr. Speaker. Thank you so much.
L'honorable député de Saint-Jean.
The honourable member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, last week, Québécois announced that it will be laying off 87 workers in their media division. In fact, over the past 2 years, nearly 800 TVA employees have lost their jobs. This is devastating for Quebec's culture and for the diversity of information in Quebec. Quebec's largest private TV station is on the brink of collapse, and Ottawa is doing nothing. Ottawa prefers to watch our TV station die a slow death. How many more people need to be laid off for this government to wake up?
L'honorable ministre de l'identité de la culture canadienne.
Mr. Speaker, our thoughts go out to families and communities affected by these layoffs. My Bloc Québécois colleagues' question would be more relevant if the Bloc Québécois had not voted for the most significant budget in Canadian history, which, if they had voted for it, they should have voted for it because we have criticism for journalism. They have voted against money for local journalism in Quebec and everywhere in Canada. So it's incomprehensible, Mr. Speaker. It makes no sense. The honourable member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, can you imagine how the people at TVA are interpreting the message the Liberals are sending them? The Liberals say, we're making historic investments in culture, but there's not a penny in it for you lot. You can disappear for all we care. That's the Liberals' message to TVA. And these same Liberals were the only ones who refused to take part in a debate on TVA, which was asking for money because it didn't have any left. TVA broadcasts our music and our stories. TVA sparks discussion and debate. Quebecers identify with TVA, but Ottawa doesn't give a damn. What does Ottawa have against our television?
L'honorable ministre.
The honourable minister.
Monsieur le Président, dans le budget contre lequel le Bloc québécois s'est opposé, il y a 150 millions de dollars pour Radio-Canada CBC, le plus important producteur de culture au Québec, Monsieur le Président. Ils ont voté pour ça. 26 millions pour l'Office national du film qui est à Montréal, Monsieur le Président. Ils ont voté pour ça. 127 millions pour le Fonds des médias, 48 millions pour le Fonds de la musique. Ils ont voté contre toutes ces initiatives-là en culture au Québec et partout au pays. C'est scandaleux, Monsieur le Président.
L'honorable député de Drummond.
Oui, mais rien pour les radiodiffuseurs privés, Monsieur le Président. Afin de plaire au très puissant président américain, le premier ministre a décidé d'abolir la taxe sur les services numériques. Les revenus tirés de cette taxe auraient pu servir à créer un fonds pour soutenir le secteur de la culture et des médias à long terme, dont TVA qui en a grandement besoin. Non seulement les libéraux ont refusé de créer un fonds, mais en plus, n'ont absolument rien fait pour assurer l'avenir de la télévision privée au Québec et au Canada. Pourquoi les libéraux ont-ils abandonné les radiodiffuseurs privés?
L'honorable leader du gouvernement à la Chambre.
Monsieur le Président, tout comme mon collègue qui vient d'énumérer nos réalisations
réalisations et nos engagements en culture en fonction du budget. Moi, je suis mystifié à regarder le Bloc québécois revendiquer des pistes d'atterrissage, des ports, des quais à Saguenay, des investissements dans des grands projets, des appuis pour la santé au Québec, des appuis pour le logement au Québec. Mais oups, ils arrivent à la rivière des citoyens. Oui, Monsieur le Président, ils traversent le pont, puis ils votent contre tout ça. Comment ça, le Bloc québécois se lève pas debout avec les députés libéraux? Votez pour le Québec, votez pour ce projet.
Prime Minister's costly credit card budget puts today's reckless spending on tomorrow's taxpayers. He's maxing out Canada's credit card. Watchdogs are exposing the Liberals' accounting tricks. Fitch and the budget watchdogs say Canada's credit score is at risk because the Liberals always break their own made-up fiscal targets. How many more fiscal watchdog reports is it going to take for this Prime Minister to finally rein in his costly credit card spending?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I got some advice for the leader opposite. He should go back in his lobby and push reboot on Chat CPC, because all it does is rehash the same tired old talking points. Last night, Mr. Speaker, this House passed a generational budget. We're going to invest in infrastructure, in defense and housing. We will transform this country from reliance to resiliency. It's too bad the members opposite didn't support us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Calgary East.
The CRE's a mess under that guy, and he's trying out to be a comedian in here. The budget watchdog exposed the Liberals' shady accounting tricks. He said Liberals have a less than 8% chance of meeting their own fiscal targets that they made up while trying to hide $100 billion under so-called investments. The Prime Minister tried this trick in the UK. He's trying the same trick on Canadians. Instead of cooking the books to hide his $100 billion ego, why doesn't he just rein in his out-of-control, costly credit card spending?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, they want to talk about slogans and quoting slogans. They quoted the food professor so much, you think it was the leader's personal chef, serving up the same tired old leftovers time and time again. Last night, we passed a generational budget that will transform this country. It's too bad the party opposite didn't support our budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Barrie South, Innisfil.
Every Canadian should be thanking their lucky stars that we have a parliamentary budget officer whose job it is to be independent and honest about the state of government deficits, debts, and spending. The budget watchdog last week called out the creative accounting in the Prime Minister's credit card budget, saying he's using a definition of capital investment that expands beyond the current treatment in public accounts and international practice. In other words, the Prime Minister is cooking the books, and his out-of-control deficit is pouring more gas on the debt and deficit fires. How many more alarms must go off for the Prime Minister to rein in his spending from his credit card budget?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
This budget is a game changer for families across the country, whether it's a school nutrition program, which I know these Conservatives like to talk down, that's feeding hungry mouths in my riding of Thunder Bay Superior North and all across the country, or early learning and child care program that's reducing fees. Listen to this, Mr. Speaker. ELCC has taken a huge mental and financial load off our family, particularly during these times. That's from a parent, Mr. Speaker. You can't beat that.
Honourable Member for Barrie South, Innisfil.
And what's the Liberal response to the interim PBO's warnings? They put him on notice that they'll be looking to replace him with someone who has, quote, tact and discretion. Presumably that means replacing the budget watchdog with someone from the Prime Minister's inner circle of corporate buddies who take their marching orders from him. The independence and oversight of the budget watchdog is designed to call out the deception and raise the alarms to ensure that every MP and Canadian knows when the books are being cooked. Here's a question. Why is it that the watchdogs who are challenging the wolves on this credit card budget being threatened?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, of course there's a well-worn process for appointment of the Parliamentary Budget Officer, which involves consulting with all members of this House, including the Leader of the Opposition. We look forward to the members' feedback on that very important job search.
Le député de Bellechasse, les Échemins-Lévis.
Monsieur le Président, le budget carte de crédit de ce premier ministre est une facture qu'il refile à nos enfants. Après 10 ans de ce gouvernement, les familles en arrachent et doivent mettre 50 % de plus de dépenses sur leur carte de crédit juste pour vivre, Monsieur le Président. Pendant ce temps-là, l'agence de notation Fitch affirme que les finances fédérales courent un risque élevé de détérioration parce que les libéraux dépassent et constamment leurs propres limites, Monsieur le Président. L'avis de Fitch convaincra-t-il le premier ministre de cesser ses dépenses incontrôlées et irresponsables, Monsieur le Président?
Honorable ministre de la Transformation du gouvernement.
Monsieur le Président, c'est fascinant en écoutant les conservateurs à la période des questions. C'est pas surprenant que les Québécois, que les Canadiens aient rejeté un chef qui passe son temps à écrire des petites phrases pour la période des questions que ses députés répètent joliment, mais qui ne sont pas capables de soutenir un budget qui présente une réelle vision pour bâtir le Québec, bâtir le Canada, avec des investissements, je noterai par exemple en défense, qui vont soutenir des bons emplois dans Chaudière-Appalaches au chantier des vies et à toute sa ligne de fournisseurs, à Basecamp Connect à Lévis aussi, qui fournit des systèmes de communication pour les forces armées canadiennes. C'est ça contre quoi ils ont voté hier, Monsieur le Président, et c'est regrettable. Merci beaucoup.
Le député de Bellechasse, les Échemins-Lévis.
Est-ce qu'il est en train de nous dire que Fitch et le directeur parlementaire du budget sont des menteurs, Monsieur le Président? D'ailleurs, il veut congédier le directeur parlementaire du budget. Dans son récent rapport, ce dernier confirme que le gouvernement a abandonné l'écran d'arrêt pour réduire la dette. Il prévient que cela menace directement la cote de crédit du Canada et la confiance des investisseurs. Question simple, combien d'autres rapports à la mort du directeur parlementaire du budget faudra-t-il avant que ce premier ministre mette fin à ce désordre financier, Monsieur le Président?
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Et il est important de souligner que la position fiscale du Canada est la meilleure des pays du G7, le plus bas ratio dette PIB des pays du G7. Mais le moment auquel on fait face en ce moment, Monsieur le Président, avec le changement de l'ordre économique mondial, demande de l'ambition, du sérieux pour l'avenir du pays. C'est exactement ce que présente le budget 2025, avec des investissements en infrastructure, en défense, pour plus d'abordabilité, avec une baisse d'impôts pour la classe moyenne, pour la productivité, pour l'innovation. C'est ça le budget 2025, Monsieur le Président.
After 10 years of Liberal deficits, Canadians are having to put nearly 50% more of their expenses on credit cards. Fitch Credit Ratings, the agency that gives the Liberal government its credit score, says the Liberal government is frequently blows through fiscal anchors. On top of this, the Parliamentary Budget Officer is also ringing the alarm bells. Quote, with Budget 2025, the government abandoned the previous fiscal anchor to reduce federal debt to GDP ratio over the medium term. My question is, how many more fiscal watchdog reports is it going to take for the Prime Minister to rein in his costly credit card spending?
That's right.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let's look at some facts. I know the party opposite doesn't really like to talk about facts. Best credit rating in the world. Lowest net debt to GDP in the G7. The IMF has projected Canada to have one of the fastest growing economies in the G7. Mr. Speaker, we are laser focused on building the strongest economy in the G7. Mr. Speaker, the party opposite talks slogans and rhetoric and outdated slogans, but Mr. Speaker, we're focused on building the strongest economy. Mr. Focus, we will deliver for Canadians because that's what Canadians expect from a serious government. Thank you.
L'honorable député de Jonquière.
Monsieur le Président, la preuve que le budget ne répond pas aux besoins des Québécois, hier, le jour même où il était adopté, la forestière Arbec mettait à pied près de 100 travailleurs à Amos. Pourtant, il y a à peine 3 semaines, l'industrie était à Ottawa pour réclamer du soutien, y compris Arbec. Il demandait que le fédéral leur avance 50% de tous les futurs droits compensateurs et anti-dumping à payer. Et il demandait aussi une subvention salariale pour éviter d'avoir à mettre à pied leurs travailleurs. Le budget les ignore et résultat, backlog. 100 travailleurs perdent leur gagne-pain. Qu'est-ce que le gouvernement attend pour agir?
Honorable ministre des Finances.
Monsieur le Président, je remercie mon collègue pour sa question. On sera toujours là pour les travailleurs de la foresterie. On a un fonds dédié justement pour aider les entreprises. Mais hier, Monsieur le Président, coup de théâtre. Le Bloc québécois vote contre les projets au Québec, Monsieur le Président. Imaginez, le Bloc québécois vote contre l'extension du port de Saguenay, contre l'expansion du port de Montréal, contre Explore-Mer, un pavillon pour des requins, Monsieur le Président. Le Bloc québécois est contre le pavillon des requins, contre l'Espoir Rive, contre contre le chantier naval Florion, contre le centre productif de Montréal-Nord. Monsieur le Président, les Québécois sont mystifiés aujourd'hui. Où était le Bloc québécois hier?
L'honorable député
d'Abitibi-Témiscamingue.
Monsieur le Président, on est de tout cœur avec la centaine de travailleurs d'Arbec à Amos qui sont mis à pied. La compagnie n'avait plus le choix. Parce qu'Ottawa a ignoré les besoins que l'industrie et le Bloc martèlent depuis des semaines. Ça prend une subvention salariale, justement, pour éviter des mises à pied comme celle-là. Et pour l'industrie en général, le fédéral doit avancer 50 des droits compensateurs et anti-dumping des Américains. Les libéraux n'ont rien fait dans le budget et 100 familles de chez nous apprennent qu'elles vont passer les fêtes dans la précarité. Maintenant, qu'est-ce que le gouvernement va faire pour eux?
L'honorable ministre des Finances.
Le Bloc québécois est en retard des nouvelles. Hier, il devait être occupé à voter contre le budget et contre les projets au Québec. Mais j'ai des nouvelles pour eux, Monsieur le Président. On est déjà en contact avec Arbec, Monsieur le Président. On est déjà à négocier avec une ligne de crédit, Monsieur le Président. On est déjà prêt à les appuyer justement pour faire le pivot, Monsieur le Président. Alors, le Bloc québécois, au lieu de se concentrer à voter contre des projets au Québec, il devrait regarder comment ils peuvent appuyer le gouvernement à faire avancer notre pays ensemble, Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's costly credit card budget puts today's reckless spending onto tomorrow's taxpayers. After 10 years of these Liberals, Canadians are having to put nearly 50% more of their expenses on their credit cards. The Fitch credit rating says that federal finances run a high risk of further deterioration since this government frequently blows through its fiscal anchors. How many more fiscal watchdog reports is it going to take for this Prime Minister to rein in his costly credit card spending?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, as a proud member from Southern New Brunswick, like the member opposite, I believe in this budget we passed last night. That budget has transformational, generational investments in defense, in infrastructure. There is a $5 billion trade corridor fund that will be an amazing amount of dollars for Port St. John and Port Belleduc. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we listen to Canadians. We believe in our budget. We know our budget will transform Canada. It's too bad the members opposite didn't support us last night. I know Canadians stand with us. We will...
The Honourable Member for Fundy Royal.
Mr. Speaker, this member knows that his constituents and mine are struggling to make ends meet, and it's this government's reckless spending that's making matters worse. Not only is Fitch credit ratings warning that Canada's economic position is at risk of getting worse, thanks to the Liberals' disregard for sticking to their own fiscal anchors, the Parliamentary Budget Officer is also warning that this deterioration is already taking place, and Canadians are the ones paying the price. It's no wonder that this Prime Minister wants to fire the Parliamentary Budget Officer, because he's actually telling Canadians the truth. And the truth, Mr. Speaker, hurts. So I'll ask again, how many more fiscal watchdog...
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, that member is an experienced member, so experienced, in fact, he was here for that 10-year river of Harper red ink, the biggest budget deficits on record in the history of the country. And it's funny, he wasn't talking about that then. And what he's done now is he's voting against a budget that creates opportunity right throughout Atlantic Canada, right throughout the province of New Brunswick, that creates opportunity for young people in New Brunswick, in energy, in infrastructure. We're going to keep building this country despite that member, his history of red ink, and his negativism.
L'honorable député de Côte-du-Sud de Rivière-du-Loup-Témiscouata.
Monsieur le Président, le budget déficitaire du Premier ministre reflète la facture aux contribuables d'aujourd'hui, mais aussi de demain. En même temps, les Canadiens sont forcés de mettre presque 50% de plus de dépenses sur leur carte de crédit. Imaginez, Fitch, l'agence de crédit, avertit que, j'ouvre les parenthèses, les finances fédérales risquent fortement de se détériorer encore davantage. Le directeur parlementaire du budget dit que les coûts des emprunts vont augmenter. Monsieur le Président, combien d'autres rapports de chiens de garde financiers ça va prendre pour que le Premier ministre arrête de dépenser comme un irresponsablement?
L'honorable secrétaire d'État pour l'enfance et la jeunesse.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. De ce côté de la Chambre, on a investi pour bâtir des familles et des communautés fortes. Les investissements dans le budget vont créer des emplois et des carrières de qualité pour les jeunes. Ça va protéger les mesures de soutien qui aident les familles à aller de l'avant. Votre nouveau gouvernement livre un budget qui va bâtir, protéger et renforcer le Canada. J'encourage les membres d'en face à voter pour le budget cet après-midi. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
The honourable member for St. John, St. Croix.
Mr. Speaker, after 10 years of Liberal mismanagement, Canadian families are putting 50% more of their household bills on credit cards than just 10 short years ago because of Liberal inflationary spending. Fitch Rating warns that the government overspending puts finances at high risk of further deterioration. The budget watchdog warns Liberals have abandoned their own debt-to-GDP anchor, which is key to preserving Canada's AAA credit rating. No wonder the Prime Minister, this costly Prime Minister, is trying to fire anyone who can use a calculator in this place. When will the Prime Minister stop maxing out Canada's credit card and get back to basics?
The Honourable Minister responsible for Canada-US trade.
Mr. Speaker, like his colleague from Fundy Royal, that member would remember very well the time that he served in Prime Minister Harper's office, and they were overrun with credit card spending and government cutbacks. They pretend to be interested in things now like the fight against crime, and they were cutting CBSA officers and underfunding the RCMP. And what did they do yesterday, Mr. Speaker? They voted against investments in his province, in my province of New Brunswick, in infrastructure that'll build the strongest economy. We've got no lessons to take, as the finance minister said, from that member.
The honourable member for Yorkton Melville.
The Prime Minister's costly credit card budget loads today's reckless spending on tomorrow's taxpayers, while Canadians are having to put nearly 50% more of their expenses on their credit cards, fearing potential loss of their homes, businesses, and facing the threat of bankruptcy. If only this government was concerned. The warnings from Fitch and the Parliamentary Fiscal Watchdog are ringing alarm bells. Abandoning one fiscal anchor and replacing it with another is already failing to build investor confidence in Canada. How many more fiscal watchdog reports will it take for this Prime Minister to rein in his costly credit card spending?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Yesterday in this House, the Conservative Party voted against Budget 2025. They voted against
not from the top, but the member can continue.
Those Conservatives voted against food in schools for children. They voted against an income tax cut for the middle class. They voted against $75 million in apprenticeship training. They voted against a refundable credit for personal support workers. They voted against $45 million to address violence against women, and they voted against crucial support for seniors like the old age security. Mr. Speaker, Canadians want to know who are you?
L'honorable député de Rivière-des-Mille. Non. D'accord, allez-y.
Go ahead. Mr. Speaker, Northern Ontario has a proud mining legacy. We are known across the globe as a mining powerhouse, and we are ready to lead in the clean economy. The Minister of Energy and Natural Resources visited our region last week, where he saw firsthand the real opportunities that Northern Ontario offers to our government's plan to grow our economy. Having major projects from Northern Ontario included on the list sends a clear signal that Northern Ontario is at the centre of Canada's critical mineral future. Can the Minister tell us what this means for the workers and local communities of our region?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for that question. The Crawford mine will help anchor Canada's leadership in clean industrial materials. It will supply high-grade, low-carbon nickel for batteries and green steel, with projected emissions close to 90% lower than the global average, while creating 1,000 direct jobs and 3,000 indirect jobs over the 40-year mine life. This is an example of acting decisively, building stronger, more reliant Canada, and getting projects built faster with the Major Projects Office.
The honourable member for Foothill.
This Liberal government is the most expensive in Canadian history, and every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pocket of hardworking Canadians, driving up the costs of everything. Food prices are 50% higher than the target rate, and experts have warned the Liberals the industrial carbon tax is driving up the cost of fertilizer, farm equipment, and food. Now, the Liberals like to say this tax is imaginary, but they're increasing their own imaginary tax in the budget. Is that what they tell parents of the 700,000 kids lined up at food bank, as you're imagining things? Why is the Prime Minister increasing the industrial carbon tax when food is already unaffordable?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this budget meets a moment, speeding up national building projects, boosting trade diversification for agri-food and agriculture, for our economy, and those generations he speaks of to come. $150 billion in infrastructure alone in the plan, including trade corridors, agri-marketing, ag stability, clean fuel regulations, biofuel incentives, CFIA funding for digital trade, investments in can export, EDC, global affairs, all for trade diversification and growing agriculture, Mr. Speaker. And Buy Canada plan, Mr. Speaker, that's so important to all our agriculture farmers and ranchers out there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Foothill.
What this budget did was put intergenerational debt on Canadian families. But here's the fact that the minister just ignored entirely. Canada, food inflation in Canada is 40% faster and higher in Canada than it is in the United States. Canada is the only G7 country where food inflation has actually increased in 4 straight months. We have a record-shattering 2.2 million Canadians forced to a food bank in a single month. Why is the Prime Minister breaking his promise to Canadians, increasing an industrial carbon tax, increasing food costs for Canadians who already can't afford to put food on the table?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we all know the Canadian Climate Institute most recent research shows Canada industrial carbon pricing system have essentially no impact on households. Agriculture plays a significant role in their achievement, Mr. Speaker, to lead the G7 nations. We're going to stand alongside our growers, our ranchers, and our farmers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Battleford, Lloydminster.
This Liberal government is the most expensive in Canadian history. Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians and drives up the cost of everything. The cost of baby formula has jumped nearly 84% since 2017, and the growing reports of parents going to desperate measures to feed their babies is truly alarming. Yet, when the Liberals had a chance to lower food costs, they chose to increase it. Why is the Prime Minister increasing the industrial carbon tax and making food more expensive?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Rural Affairs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I just want to point out when it comes to the budget that Saskatchewan is watching. Saskatchewan is here, Mr. Speaker. For 10 years, those Sask Conservatives have voted against billions of dollars in project commitments and programs that would have helped my home province to move faster and build stronger. They did this just for their petty and immature political games. That ends today, Mr. Speaker, because this Saskatchewan MP is voting for the budget and voting for the interests of Saskatchewan.
The honourable member for Battleford, Lloydminster, Meadow Lake.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal budget and those initiatives are not working. Parents are still struggling to afford baby formula under this Liberal government's watch. And now Stats Can is reporting another year-over-year increase of 6% on the price of baby formula. The Liberals had a chance to lower food costs for Canadians by scrapping the industrial carbon tax. But they chose to make food more expensive by increasing it. So I will ask again, why, when so many parents are struggling to feed their babies, is the Prime Minister increasing the industrial carbon tax and making food more expensive?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Now, Mr. Speaker, I know they haven't developed a budget in the last 10 years, so they're a little out of practice, Mr. Speaker. But I'm going to ask them, what part of this budget would they cut? Would it be the RCMP Heritage Project? Would it be the thousands of houses that are going to commit to building in Saskatchewan? Would they shut down the nation-building mine in northern Saskatchewan? The $370 million in biofuels to benefit our canola farmers? Would they vote against $257.6 million for firefighting aircraft? Where would you cut? What would you sacrifice on Saskatchewan's behalf?
Once again, through the chair, please. The honourable member for Montmorency-Charlevoix.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. J'étais avec un éleveur bovin la semaine dernière à Château-Richer et on parlait de la taxe fédérale sur le carbone industriel qui faisait augmenter le coût de l'énergie, du transport, de la transformation tout au long de la chaîne d'approvisionnement. Et ça donne un résultat d'une augmentation de 17 % du prix du bœuf pour ses clients. Il n'est pas le seul à avoir ces augmentations-là. Selon Statistique Canada, les pommes, les oranges, le poulet, le jus de fruits, les carottes augmentent. Même le café a augmenté de 35 %. Plus vite l'augmentation du prix de la nourriture au Canada qu'aux États-Unis. Pourquoi les libéraux continuent d'augmenter le prix de l'épicerie pour les Canadiens?
L'honorable ministre de l'Environnement.
Mr. Speaker, perhaps we could start by telling them that the industrial carbon price does not apply to Quebec. So perhaps you could look at this. But not only this, across the country, the price on industrial carbon is not increasing food prices. We have to show that we can continue to fight against climate change and support families across our country, and I hope that they will decide to help families as well. The honourable member for Montmorency-Charlevoix.
Il existe une autre taxe
There's another tax.
complètement inventée, Monsieur le Président, c'est la taxe sur le
that's been
carburant.
invented.
Hier, les
That's the
libéraux avaient
carbon tax.
l'occasion de réduire le
And
coût
the
des aliments
Liberals
en éliminant
had
la
a
taxe
chance
sur le
to
carburant, mais
drive
ils ont
down food
choisi
prices
de
by eliminating this
continuer
tax, but
de
they
rendre la
chose to
nourriture
continue
encore
to
plus
make food
chère.
even more
Dans les
expensive.
banques alimentaires au
At
Québec,
food banks in
c'est des
Quebec,
familles, c'est des
we're
couples
seeing
qui ont chacun
families
un
and
emploi qui se
couples
présentent
that each have
pour avoir
jobs
de la nourriture
that are
parce qu'ils
showing
doivent
up to get
choisir
food
entre
because
se
they
nourrir,
have
se
to
loger
choose
et mettre
between
du gaz dans leur voiture pour aller au travail.
having
C'est
food, paying the
17
rent,
cents
or having gas
d'augmentation
to
par
drive
litre
their
que ça
cars.
va coûter aux familles
It costs an
canadiennes
extra
à chaque fois qu'ils se
70%
rendent à
per
la
litre
pompe.
every time they
Pourquoi
go
le
to the
premier
pump.
ministre maintient sa
How come
taxe sur
the
le
Prime Minister is
carburant et
keeping its
continue à
carbon
rendre la
tax, his
nourriture
carbon
encore
tax,
plus
and
chère?
continuing to make food more expensive?
L'honorable ministre
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yesterday, he had the opportunity to vote for a tax cut for 22 million Canadians. Yesterday, he had the opportunity to vote for a school food program for the most vulnerable young people in Quebec. He had the opportunity to vote for investments in housing and infrastructure, in transportation. Yesterday, he had the opportunity to invest in defense, to increase the salaries of our CAF members. He voted against, but good news, he can make up for this just after question period, support our Ways and Means motion, and perhaps take a walk behind the curtains like some of his colleagues did.
Mr. Speaker, this Liberal government is the most expensive in Canadian history. Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians and is driving up the cost of everything. They could have lowered the food cost by scrapping the plastic packaging tax, which drives up the cost of produce by 34% and costs the average household $400. Instead, the Liberals chose to keep it. Why is the Prime Minister keeping this packaging tax and making food more expensive?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Speaker, why does the member opposite keep on choosing to make things up? There is no plastic packaging tax. Do you want me to repeat it for him, please? There is no plastic packaging tax. I wish that they would look at the facts, and I wish that they would work with us to continue to work for Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Northumberland Clark.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar the Liberals spend comes out of the pockets of hard-working Canadians. Senior Liberal appointee Pierre Tremblay nearly doubled his former travel budget to allow him to spend thousands of dollars on unnecessary limo rides. Instead of asking young Canadians to sacrifice their future, why doesn't the Prime Minister ask one of his top bureaucrats to maybe sacrifice a limo ride here or there?
Here, here. The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, what this government is doing is spending less so we can invest more. We've invested $60 billion in the first tranche of major projects, $57 billion in this. This is creating jobs and making Canada stronger, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Northumberland Clark.
We hear it tired line from this government and the previous one. Canadians have never had it so good. But the reality is Canadians are struggling, families are struggling, workers are struggling. And yet this government keeps defending the indefensible. While Canadians are lined up in record number at the food banks, Liberal bureaucrats are living the Liberal life of luxury. Will this government take any disciplinary action against this individual? Maybe even curtail his travel budget?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, that agency is an independent agency. It does good work. It is helping us build a nuclear future for this country. We are building at Darlington. We are building at Pickering. We are building at Bruce. Mr. Speaker, we are building Canada strong.
Honorable député de Compton-Stanstead.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Dans les régions, comme chez nous, dans les cantons de l'Est, on a des médias locaux et des organismes culturels, tant anglophones que francophones, qui jouent un rôle essentiel pour nous informer et faire vivre notre culture. Aujourd'hui, avec la montée du numérique et la mondialisation, nos façons de nous informer et de consommer la culture évoluent. Je voudrais demander au ministre de la Culture et de l'Identité canadienne comment notre gouvernement va protéger et promouvoir la richesse culturelle et la diversité qui font la force de notre région.
Le ministre de l'Identité et de la Culture canadienne.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. In the face of global uncertainty, it is essential that we protect our cultural sovereignty and identity. And that's why, as part of our budget, we're investing historical amounts in culture and identity with $38 million for local media across our country. Our government has made a strategic choice to strengthen our cultural sector and our media sector with millions in CBC Radio Canada and $65 billion this represents in GDP and nearly 670,000 jobs. We're investing in our future and preserving the stories told by Canadians.
For Windsor West.
Mr. Speaker, extortions are out of control, up 330% across Canada and nearly 360% in Ontario since 2015. 2 weeks ago, a home in Windsor got sprayed with bullets in an extortion attack. As a former police officer, I know criminals are taking advantage of our weak bail laws and lack of tools for law enforcement. Canadians deserve safety, not excuses, Mr. Speaker. When will the Liberals get serious and support our concerted plan to crack down on rampant extortion and protect our communities? For God's sake, do something.
Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, we take extortion very seriously in Canada. Right. Extortion with a firearm carries a maximum sentence of life in prison, Mr. Speaker. But you know what? These extortionists think they're not going to get caught, and you know that's why that is? Because we haven't given law enforcement the tools they need to catch extortionists. And those tools are in our C2 bill, Mr. Speaker, but except the Conservatives do not agree with that bill, and they will not give our police lawful access tools in order to catch these extortionists, so they know they're going to get away with it.
The honourable member for Cloverdale Langley City.
At a time when Canadians are being terrorized in their own neighbourhoods, our globe-trotting Prime Minister jet-setted into BC for a carefree stroll down the White Rock Pier. A stroll while families in Surrey are barricading their doors. A stroll while homes and businesses are being shot up for the second and third time. A stroll while a sunset stroll while gangs tell victims, give us 5 more names to extort or you're next. It's mind-boggling that he flew out to crack jokes on the pier instead of tackle extortion. Why won't they support the Conservative plan to crack down on extortion crisis?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives have no plan. If they had a plan, they would support C-14. In C-14, we make sentencing for extortionists consecutive. C-14 also makes it harder for extortionists to get bail, Mr. Speaker. That's why it's so important that they support these measures. It's so important that they support C2. But, Mr. Speaker, I think they don't support it because that would mess up their fundraising plans.
The honourable member for Pitt Meadows Maple Ridge.
Mr. Speaker, CT
just reported an extortion-related shooting in Abbotsford, in BC. Entire communities are living in fear as extortion has exploded nearly 500%. This is unacceptable and an indictment on this soft-on-crime, hug-a-thug Liberal government. Right. Conservatives are providing solutions. The Liberals are silent. Just this morning, our Conservative leader requested emergency debate on extortion. The Liberals shot it down. When will the Liberals take this seriously and not give empty platitudes?
Here, here. Here, here.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, just because my colleague doesn't read the legislation the government puts on the floor of the House of Commons doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I would invite him to read Bill C-14, the Bail and Sentencing Act, which makes it difficult for people who are charged with violent extortion to be released on bail. I invite him to read Bill C-2, the Strong Borders Act, which gives tools around lawful access to law enforcement to actually catch the guys who would commit extortion before it impacts people in his communities. If he wants to reduce the temperature in this House, work across partisan lines, there is something he can do. He can vote for these bills to crack down on extortion, or he can continue to make partisan hay out of it.
Monsieur le Président, en tant que jeune, je sais à quel point Employabilité Canada soutenu, je sais à quel point Employabilité Canada soutenu par Employabilité Canada peut être déterminant pour les jeunes afin d'acquérir de bonnes compétences. Que fait le gouvernement pour aider les jeunes à bien avancer leur carrière? Merci.
And it helps young people to start their careers off to a good start.
L'honorable secrétaire d'État pour l'enfance et la jeunesse.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le député de Mont-Saint-Bruno-Lacadie est un exemple excellent de comment l'emploi d'été Canada aide les jeunes à réussir. L'emploi d'été Canada soutient les emplois de qualité pour les jeunes afin de développer des compétences et d'obtenir l'expérience sur le marché du travail. En budget 2025, on va soutenir environ 100 000 emplois d'été Canada. C'est 24 000 emplois de plus que l'été dernier. Nous soutenons également la stratégie emploi compétences jeunesse et le programme de stage pratique pour étudiants, qui ensemble permettront de soutenir plus de 75 000 emplois. On est là pour les jeunes, alors qu'on bâtit un Canada fort.
And we'll be building a strong
The Honourable Member for Brampton West.
Mr. Speaker, extortion is up 330% across Canada since 2015. This is a national crisis. Yet again, the Liberals refused an emergency debate. In Peel, police charge a man in two shootings in Brampton and Caledon linked to organized crime. Extortion cases are skyrocketing. Communities are afraid. Families are worried. Businesses are being targeted. Conservatives have a plan to stop this surge. When will the Liberals finally act and support our Conservative plan to crack down on Canada's rampant extortion crisis?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
What is the Conservative plan? We heard it in the House earlier today. It's to stall our legislation, Mr. Speaker. We've brought C2, we've brought C12 and C14, all measures that will help in these types of crimes, Mr. Speaker. It'll give them tougher sentences. It'll make it harder for them to get bail. But they don't want to support real solutions, Mr. Speaker. They just want to delay, they want to cut, and they want to fundraise for their own personal means, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Last year, this Parliament passed legislation to deliver diabetes and contraceptive medications to every Canadian through our public healthcare system. This is vital to millions of people's health and the foundation of universal pharmacare. Liberals promised Canadians in Budget 2025 they would protect pharmacare, but they didn't allocate any money to it. No. Will the Prime Minister clearly confirm that he will keep his word and make funding available to every province and territory who wants to sign a pharmacare agreement with the federal government?
L'Honorable Ministre de la Santé.
Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the member of the opposition for his question.
Il y a beaucoup de bruit là.
There is a lot of noise in the chamber.
Qui provient de la Chambre et je vais donc demander à la ministre de recommencer sa réponse du début.
From the top.
I can. So our government will always protect Canada's healthcare system, including pharmacare and dental care. These are clear commitments, and we will keep them. I am having conversation with all provinces and territories to see how we can best support them to strengthen our healthcare system, including on pharmacare. Thank you.
The honourable member for Nunavut.
Inuit rely on hunting and trapping in a harsh environment. Nunavut is vast with over 45,000 kilometers of coastline with no search and rescue base. When Nunavut Mill are in trouble, they must wait for help from Halifax over 2,000 kilometers away. Wow. Nunavut needs a centrally located search and rescue in Sanilayak. Will this government do that or continue to keep Inuit at risk of losing their lives while they are out on the land?
Here, here. The Honourable Secretary of State for Northern and Arctic Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, Budget 2025 makes historic investments with the new $1 billion Arctic Infrastructure Fund. This is designed to strengthen airports, seaports, and all-season roads, which are critical lifelines for search and rescue. By improving northern transportation and communications infrastructure, the budget directly enhances the safety of the North. It's ensuring faster response times and better coordination when emergencies occur on land, sea, or ice. So these are the investments that reflect our commitment to equity, reconciliation, and protecting the lives in Canada's North.
Hear, hear. Before we proceed, I would just like to mention that it is not permitted to take pictures in the House. I didn't see any of that going on today, but yesterday I saw members and others saw members taking pictures with their phones. So I just want to make that point. Pardon? Well, anyway. Okay, Mr. Champagne, seconded by... No. Orders of the day.
Ordre du jour, ordre émanant du gouvernement, voies et moyens. Étude de la motion numéro 7, prise en considération d'une motion des voies et moyens en vue du dépôt de projet de loi intitulé « Loi portant exécution de certaines dispositions du budget » déposé au Parlement le 4 novembre 2025.
Mr. Champagne, seconded by... Sorry, is the member standing for... No, not a point of order or anything. Okay, shall I dispense? Okay. If a member si un député participant en personne désire que la motion soit adoptée ou adoptée avec dissidence, d'accord, est-ce qu'on est d'accord? Oui. On division. We agree? Agreed? Okay. Adopted. Je déclare la motion adoptée avec dissidence. Nous allons attendre... Monsieur Champagne, appuyé par Monsieur Solomon, demande la permission de déposer un projet de loi intitulé « Loi portant exécution de certaines dispositions du budget déposé au Parlement le 4 novembre 2025. Cette motion est réputée adoptée. Monsieur Champagne, appuyé par Monsieur Solomon, propose que ce projet de loi soit maintenant lu une première fois et imprimé. Cette motion est réputée adoptée.
Première lecture de ce projet de loi, first reading of this bill.
Quand ce projet de loi sera-t-il lu une deuxième fois? À la prochaine séance de la Chambre. Je désire informer la Chambre que le volume des oreillettes sera maintenant réinitialisé.
On va faire autre chose.
Ordre du jour.
Orders of the day, government orders, government bills, commons, resuming consideration at second reading of Bill C-14, Bail and Sentencing Reform Act.
The honourable member for Barrie Springwater, Oro Medonte. Okay.
We'll just ask for a little order. The honourable member for Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to rise today to speak on behalf of the great people of Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte.
Order, order. Order. I'll just ask members that are having private conversations to please either exit the chamber or stop having private conversations. The House is setting. We are resuming debate. The member for Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte does have the floor, so just ask for a little order. And I know some of the noise is coming from outside the chamber itself, and I'm sure that will be taken care of. But I'll ask the member from Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte to begin his remarks. The honourable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Maybe perhaps I should take a minute or two and thank the great people of Barrie this past weekend who attended the Barrie Santa Claus Parade, even in the rain. It was great to see everybody out there. So it was nice. Good parade. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for putting that on. All right, let's get into the fun stuff now, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to rise today to speak on behalf of the great people of Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte about Bill C-14. Bill C-14 seeks to amend the Criminal Code, Youth Criminal Justice Act, and the National Defence Act to clarify that the principle of restraint introduced by the Liberal government does not require release. It also expands reverse